Welcome to 9 Point Started With a Dream podcast. Our goal is to showcase the stories of athletes and the community that supports them by being authentic about their journey. Here's your host, Jacolby Gilliam.
Yo, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host as always, Jacolby Gilliam. Today's guest is Maggie Speaks, professional volleyball player. And if you heard a previous episode with Kathleen Gates, they're part of the same agency, Athlete Abroad Management. And Maggie's journey is fun. I was listening to her kind of just talk about her journey, and she kind of just went for it. She didn't have this special roadmap or, just say, I got to achieve 1, 2, 3, but just like this opportunity aligns with my goal, this opportunity aligns with my vision for my dreams. So I'm going to go for it. And I think something we can all just get inspired by, to not worry about too much about how we get there, but just knowing that we're getting closer to what the destination is. So great story here, great journey, and let's get to it. So the question, Maggie, the question that everyone comes on is, when you're younger as an athlete, what was like your big dream or goal you wanted to achieve?
So when I was younger, like really young, I remember we had to draw in like kindergarten. They made us draw like 4 squares of like what we wanted to do when we were older. And I remember I had 2 squares, and one of them was to compete in the Olympics. And I remember drawing the little Olympic rings, and then I wanted to be a pediatrician. So like 2 like really high goals for me. And I was like in kindergarten. And then just growing up, I grew up around sports. My entire family, mom and dad side, all football. So football coaches, football players. So I just knew that I wanted to play a sport in college. I wasn't really sure what sport. I wanted to go D1 like yourself. And so that was just kind of like my goal as a young kid, was like, I want to go to college. Didn't really know anything about it, but I was like, I want to go to a big college and play a sport.
Yeah. So you said, so in kindergarten, you're on Olympic rings in kindergarten.
Yeah. I don't even know what I was like thinking. Like probably I was like, I'll play every sport in the Olympics, but that was my goal, was to play in the Olympics.
Love it. So kind of growing around like, an athletic family, how did you approach that process of saying, if I'm going to make this D1 dream happen, how is it going to work?
Yeah. So I have 2 siblings, and when we were younger, my parents just put us into, every sport. So I did soccer, basketball, softball. We tried tennis for a little bit. I danced. So we just kind of like did everything. And I didn't actually really get into volleyball until like 6th grade. Like all my friends did, because in South Carolina, volleyball it's really just in the past like couple years started to grow. But when I was growing up, it was very new to the state of South Carolina. And especially, I'm from a very small town, so especially Camden. But I was always like soccer and basketball were my favorite sports. And then, I think like in 6th grade, I did developmental volleyball. Hated it just because I was horrible at it, like completely hated it. But all my friends did it, so I stuck with it. And then I don't remember when, but it just kind of clicked. And I was like, volleyball is my sport. Volleyball is what I want to play in college. And I kind of just like quit everything else and just like had my Zoom focus on volleyball. And I was just like, this is what's going to get me to where I want to be. And so then that's when I started doing like traveling for club and stuff like that.
So with that, then, so you say you kind of started off playing more soccer and basketball. So you're getting buckets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I was glasses and bangs.
Oh, there we go.
Doing nothing but net. Yeah, that was me.
So what about volleyball that kind of made you, like what did it feel like that made you think like, all right, this is going to be my new path? Like, what about it?
I think that, because like I said, I started off just really hating it. I remember I would just cry in every practice because I was so bad. And I still am like very much a perfectionist. And like even at a young age I was. So it's like I was that kid in practice that every time I made a mistake, I would cry. And so it was very new, and, we're learning all these skills. And so it was like rough to start. And then I think like 6th grade, 7th grade, it just kind of clicked and I started getting the hang of it. And it's just like a really fun game to play. I think there's so many different aspects of it. And it's also just such a team sport where like you can't really place blame or see error in just one person. So it's like you really all have to work together. And I think that's what I really liked about it, is just that like team aspect of, you know, we're all just trying to keep this ball off the floor. And yeah, so I think that's kind of what drew me to it. Yeah.
It's interesting because when I was interviewing Kathleen, she mentioned, you know, volleyball, the game of errors. And I was like, that's the interesting perspective, you know, like you said right there, you know, the game is, you know, we want to limit we want to kind of limit our errors.
Right. Right. But like, you can't really, like when you watch overall volleyball game or when you look at statistics, you can't like pinpoint one person that made these errors. Whereas like in baseball, for example, like all the pressure at first is on the pitcher. And if the pitcher is messing up, then, you know, those coaches are walking out to the mound and all eyes are on the pitcher and it's like you're out. But in volleyball, it's kind of like, you know, if one person, maybe I shank a ball, then it's my teammate's job to fix that instead of just like I shank the ball and the play's over and all eyes are on me, you know, like it's kind of a chain reaction.
And I'm realizing too, because I'm kind of new to volleyball a little bit and I'm kind of learning and watching the sport more. And I love how like, after every play, you come together. Right?
Yes.
So it's almost kind of like saying like, hey, no matter your error that happened, we're going to come back together. That kind of like the motto with the tunnels.
Yeah, like I think it's just to kind of regroup, and especially if, you know, there's a long run of, you know, your points or whatever, then it's just a quick way to come together and be like, okay, we're going to change this. Or, you know, that happens sometimes, like shake it off, or even just looking at your teammate and saying like, hey, like get your shit together, like kind of thing. So it's such a big pro of the sport of just like being able to come in between every single point and like have a small conversation.
That's cool. That's cool. Any jokes in there? Any good jokes?
Yeah, sometimes. I think it just depends on the mood and like how good or bad you're doing. But
hey,
yeah.
Hey, we're up 21. Let's just, you know, have a good time right now. Okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you're getting killed, it's just kind of like like a little bit sarcastic. I remember in college one time we were playing UNC Chapel Hill and they were just killing us. And I remember like every huddle I would come in and be like, it's okay, next point. 10 huddles later, like, all right, guys, we got this next point. And then after a while, we just start laughing and then we just kind of stare at each other and we'd be like, all right, we're going to get this next point. Just kind of like,
next point.
What do we do now?
We're one away. Keep fighting.
Yeah. Just one. We can get one.
So kind of leading to that like college journey, how'd you land and you went to, I want to say South Carolina, am I correct?
I went to North Carolina State.
North Carolina State.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So actually really crazy. My whole life, like from when I started to like aim for, I just knew I wanted to go to a big school. I wanted to go to University of South Carolina. Like that was my like all goal. I didn't have my sights on any other schools. And I also really just had no idea what I was doing as far as like volleyball recruiting and stuff went. Like my dad coaches football. And so my mom had to kind of take me to all my volleyball stuff and like love her to death, and she did so much for me and still does so much for me, but like she had no idea. So like we both were just kind of like, we know that I need to play club somewhere outside of Camden if I want to go to college, but we just didn't know the recruiting process. So I had no idea that I needed to be like emailing schools and that I needed to be going on visits and doing all this stuff, which looking back on it now, I'm like, wow, like wonder what my options would have been. Cause you know, you get all like the letters that come in the mail for camps and stuff like that. And I just didn't know, like, I just had a box of all these letters that I just was like, cool. And so I just, you know, would go to South Carolina's volleyball camp every summer and was recruited by them. And up until like, it was like right before beginning of my sophomore year, which is like when, or I guess fall of my sophomore year, and spring is kind of when everyone starts signing. They were recruiting me and one of my teammates on my club team, and we would go to every game. We'd talk to them afterwards. And I just remember after one game, they just didn't speak to me. Like, and I'm like 15 years old. And so it's already nerve-wracking having to like go down on the court and like approach these adults that play for this team at this big university that you want to play for. And it was literally just like, I was a ghost. And I remember just like going into the bathroom and just sobbing. And I was like so upset, just really didn't understand what was going on. And like emailed them, never really heard back. And then I just happened to have a friend of a friend who was the manager. And so I like texted her and I was like, do you know what's going on? Like, are they like, am I still going there? Because at the time I was like their number one setting recruit. She was like, yeah, they actually decided to go with another girl from Georgia. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm screwed. What am I going to do? Like, I haven't talked to any other schools. Like, what am I going to do? So my mom and I just started like scrambling, and we like pulled out that box, just start sending emails to like all the big schools. Cause I was like, this is still my goal. So we're emailing like UVA, Georgia and stuff like that. And they're all just like, sorry, it's like a little late. We've already have our setter for your class. And my mom pulls out, she's like, what about NC State? And I was like, NC State, like, never even heard of them before. And she's like, what do you mean? You know, they're in the same conference as Clemson and UNC. And I had no idea. So I was like, sure, fine, let's do it. Send them an email. Like very quickly after that, they brought me out on a official visit. And a week later, the coach calls me and he's like, hey, we want to offer you a spot with, 4 years scholarship. And I was like, okay, great, I'm in. He was like, you don't want to talk to your parents or anything? Nope, I'm good. This is like, love it. This is where I'm going. And I remember walking downstairs. My parents were watching TV and I was like, so I'm going to NC State. And they were like, what? Okay, congrats. And so that was kind of it. I got really lucky, I think, that I ended up getting to still go to a, Power 5 conference with how little recruiting I did and how kind of last minute all of it was. So
that's a wild journey right there.
Yeah, it really was. And then I ended up graduating from high school early and going to college in the spring season as a fresh 18-year-old. So yeah, it was all kind of like very fast and very crazy.
So kind of going back to when you said they were at your game and they kind of didn't talk to you, kind of ghosted you. You went to the bathroom, kind of you sobbed. So like, how did you kind of readjust your framework to say, all right, like I'm going to bounce back from this, or, like feel like a kid right now that had the same issue. And they're like, how do I bounce back from,
Yeah, I think I just was like, okay, I still have this goal, right? Like, no matter what happened with that, and it was devastating, for a 15-year-old who all I ever wanted was to go to University of South Carolina. I still was just like, okay, my goal is still to go D1. Like, my big picture, like, even though that one small aspect of it is no longer in the picture, but the big picture is like, I still want to go D1. I know that I can because I have heard from big D1 schools. And so it's just kind of like, you kind of just have to quickly reframe your vision of, okay, maybe it's not going to be exactly where I want to go, but big picture is I still end up at a D1 school. And so like, I think that was just kind of like my mindset of, I'm still working towards this and it's not over yet, right? Like, it's not too late.
I love that. So it's almost like the destination stays the same, but like the roadmap to get there and just
right
change your house a little bit.
Right. And maybe it's not exactly what I had expected or what I wanted, but in the end, it ended up being for the better. So we beat USC every year for 4 years. So
mic drop.
Yeah, go Pack.
So do you think going through that kind of made you value the opportunity more to play D1?
Yeah, I think for sure. Like, I think that I felt very lucky that there was still a school that I could, go to that was in the realm of what I wanted, because when we did start sending those emails to all the D1 schools that I'd heard from, it was like, thanks for reaching out, but you're too late. It was, you're too late. We've filled the spot, like email after email. And so I think that there was the fact that there was still like one more left, that it was still a possibility, was, I feel like lucky that that ended up being still available for me.
One opportunity away.
Yeah, exactly.
So you left high school early, graduated early. You're a freshman on NC State campus.
Yep.
What was that eye-opening experience like?
So I am from very, very small towns in South Carolina. So like downtown, like I could drive from outside of Camden to the other end outside of Camden in 10 minutes, like very small. So NC State is in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is not small. And so going in like first of all, into a spring season, which is off season for volleyball, and then having to navigate being in this big city at this big university with all these people, never really having gone outside of volleyball, outside of South Carolina, except for volleyball, was really difficult. I was not prepared at all, like physically, for the physical pressure of it, and also just like having like socially, there's like all these other like aspects. So it was definitely just like a rude awakening. I remember, so we had like 6 a.m. workouts every day. And that was like my first week, is like 6 a.m. workouts, never in my life. And I also don't think I'd really like lifted a weight until that week either. And I remember after like our day 4, my arms were so sore and like I couldn't straighten them. And luckily there was one other girl that graduated high school early with me, and we would like sit in our dorm and I would just get her to like pull on my arms, and like I would just walk around with like ice bags because I couldn't. And then we would get into setting and my coach is like, extend. And I'm just like, I can't, like I physically can't. And so that was, that took some adjusting, and yeah, it was a struggle. But honestly, like I was just really excited to be there. And like I was just like all volleyball. Should have been a little bit more like balanced with school and volleyball, but I was just very much like, I am so excited to be here. I've never had training like that in my life, never, had weight training like that in my life. So it was a lot, but it was exciting.
So earlier you said, there was the point, I think it was like I think you said like 6th grade, whatever, when it kind of all clicked. So in college, mm-hmm. At what point did it kind of all just click and come together when it came to training, nutrition, the game? When will that happen?
Oh God, probably like my senior year. No, I think it really helped that I graduated from high school early, because I think that out of all the girls in my class, it was the most foreign concept to me, all of it, the school, the volleyball, the weight training, the requirements, like it was all just completely bizarre to me. And so I think it really helped that I did graduate early, so I kind of had that extra semester to like adjust and get a feel for everything. I definitely didn't fully like mature into that like student athlete role until like probably my senior year, just because it was like I was just having the time of my life, like just go to volleyball, work my ass off, then have a great weekend, out in Raleigh. And so had, made lots of amazing friends. And so, yeah, I think that like my senior year was when it really clicked for me of like, okay, I need to make the most of all of it. Like not just volleyball and social, but like school and just like really poured myself into the full student athlete, like really embodied what that meant. Probably a little late, but
I think that's kind of cool though, that you kind of say that you kind of have the social aspects, right? Because I think
yeah.
sometimes we can get so caught up in our goal that we kind of just have that tunnel vision and kind of miss out on some opportunities that we wish maybe like, I wish I would have gone to that one event, right?
Right. Yeah. Some of them I probably shouldn't have, but but yeah, I feel like I really, like, as far as like fully diving into college, I feel like I really did that, and like I had a blast. And I think also like my first 3 years, the volleyball part was a struggle mentally, and so I think it was the social aspect kind of helped balance that out, where I kind of had an outlet as far as like I needed something outside of volleyball to kind of like help my mental state.
Definitely. I can make that too, because like for me, like I had internships that kind of went to like that kind of helped me kind of be creative when I was like struggling and running. So for you, the mental health side is that's kind of real big right now with students.
Right.
So for you, was there someone you can talk to at the end, like when things are working out, or no?
Yeah. So we had NC State has a sports psychologist in the athletic program, but it still very much was like I remember, because I definitely had like a lot of ups and downs in college, like mentally. And I remember I went and spoke to her like twice, but it was still just kind of, there was that stigma of like, I remember thinking like, okay, she's talking to other student athletes. Like, I don't want them to know that I am going and talking to her. Like, because I think like as athletes, we, first of all of our lives when we're younger are taught to like, just tough it out. And then when you get to college, it's like, oh, you're so lucky that you get to be a collegiate athlete. And so it's still kind of like driven into our brain of like, okay, I'm tough, like I'm a college athlete, and I should be grateful that I'm here, and I should be grateful that I'm getting all this gear and that I get to do all these amazing things. So and I mean, there definitely still is just like this stigma of like asking for help with your mental health, which I think like now it's a little bit more talked about, and there's, it's more of like people are being more open with their mental health struggles, which I think is awesome. But yeah, then it was definitely, there was still just like a stigma around it, which now looking back, I think like talking with my former teammates, like I had a conversation with one of my teammates the other day, and we were talking about how we struggled mentally in college, and she was saying, I did too. And oh my gosh, we should have talked with each other, and then we could have helped each other. So looking back, like, I think it would have been helpful to like lean on my teammates, but at the same time, I didn't want them to know I was struggling,
Definitely. And I'm so glad you're saying that, because like, that's one reason why I started 9 Point, because I was that athlete that struggled. Like me and cut my freshman year, I had so much like kind of like PTSD my next season, because like when the gun fired in the race, I couldn't and I didn't realize at the time that I was going through kind of anxiety and kind of like that stuff like that. And like I think like now, like you're just saying, if I could have known what I was going, maybe I could have talked to a therapist on campus. I could have talked to somebody, and then I wouldn't quit my junior and senior year.
Yeah.
I could deal with it. So I think it's so powerful what you're saying, and in that aspect.
Yeah. And it's definitely like, when you look back, you're like, dang, like, and now that you're older, you're like, dang, that's what I was struggling with. Like, it had nothing to do with like my physical capability. It's like all in your head and like what your mind is doing to your body. So like, which I can relate. So I think it's really important for especially college athletes now to just like be open about how they're feeling. And then I think people will be surprised at how many people are like willing to like lend a hand, or that are feeling the same way that they're feeling. So
right now, so say there's a kid right now or I'd say kid, a young adult, that's battling something, what would you tell them as like the first step, or just some advice on how to just approach the conversation, maybe?
Yeah, I think just reach out to whoever you feel the most comfortable sharing your information with, because I think like for me in college and like even still now, people will say like, well, you should talk to a therapist, like you should talk to a therapist. And for me, I'm someone that it takes a lot for me to really dive deep and share my deep feelings with someone. And so for me, like I think therapy is very helpful for people, but it's just not really like how I choose to like talk about my mental health struggles. I think just like grab that person that you feel most comfortable with, and friend, parent, teammate, coach, like, and just tell them like, hey, I'm struggling. And you don't need to give detail, like just say like, hey, I'm having a hard time. And, it's people that care about you, and they'll be there for you in whatever way you need. And then maybe it will open up a bigger conversation. But I think just that first step of just going to someone and saying like, hey, I'm struggling. And then I think that immediately is just like a weight off of your shoulders. Like, even if you're not saying specifically in what way, but just admitting and giving someone else like your feelings will just help right away.
Yeah, I love that. And it kind of like you said earlier, it's that fear of judgment. As athletes, we're invincible.
Right.
Grateful you get to do it. You get to play a sport, and I think that sometimes we lose the human aspects, that they're the person underneath the jersey.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's why like having those people in your life that really know you, like, and especially teammates, because they're going through what you're going through with you. And so, you can go to them and there's kind of that like relativity of, we're the same. And so like they can relate, and maybe they're also struggling mentally as well. And so just using those people around you, I think, is so important. And like for me, like I will talk to my mom about it because she's kind of outside the volleyball world, and so she can kind of see what I'm going through in a different perspective. And then like every year I've been so blessed to like have teammates that are really supportive and that I've like created bonds with, where we just share with each other. And I think that's been really helpful. And it's definitely like been kind of like this evolvement from like where I was in college, where I just would literally not tell anyone anything, to now in pro volleyball, where I feel more comfortable sharing with people because I just know how beneficial it is now.
It's those huddles, right?
Yeah, right in those huddles. Yeah, make little eye contact
mid game, like, hey, you feel this right now?
Yeah. You and me read each other's minds. Yeah,
that's awesome. No, Maggie, like this, I'm so glad you're saying this. I mean, it's like the part of the conversation that like like that needs to be heard. And I think you're giving your perspective is really powerful in this aspect. So kind of go back to the college journey. At what point did you say, what, I want to go overseas, I want to go pro?
So like I said, I really struggled with my freshman, sophomore, junior year. It was just like not a great environment to be in. And so after my junior year, it was like after our last game, I was in the car with my parents and I was just a wreck. And my dad is very much like, he played football in college, like all his brothers played football in college. And so he's very much the tough it out kind of guy. And so for him to say like, this isn't worth it, like for you to feel this way, like this is not, this isn't worth it. And they were both just like, maybe you should think about just for your senior year, just letting go of volleyball. because for you to feel this way, like this isn't worth it. This isn't how you should be feeling going into your senior year. And so I was very much like, I'm done. Okay. Like my parents are supporting me. Like I'm making this decision. And then we ended up having a coaching change. And we had this amazing group of coaches that came in my senior year. And so I just was like, okay, I'm going to give it one more try. New beginnings, like just one more shot. It's my senior year. I'm all in. I'm ready for change. I want change. I'm open-minded. Like, let's do it. And my senior year ended up just being amazing. Like I completely just learned so much more than I'd learned in 3 full years of college, just like as a player, like being a teammate, being a person. And they really just came in and like kickstarted a totally different NC State volleyball program. And so like basically just made me love playing volleyball again, love being part of a team, and love being part of that program in particular. And so we had meetings at the end, and, you know, they're like asking me what my plans are after college. And they said, have you thought about playing professionally? And I literally was like, didn't know, like professional volleyball, like that's a thing. And they're like, yeah, you can go to Europe and play professional volleyball. First, I'd ever heard of it. So I was like, that sounds awesome. And so then after that meeting, I was like, okay, yeah, my next move is professional volleyball. Like that was my like next goal, because I definitely was like, guess I'm just going to like because I majored in communications, guess I'm just going to find a comm job somewhere. Like had no idea that I could continue playing. And I also think it was perfect because I just started to like love playing again. And then I graduated in December, and my parents took me to Harry Potter World for my like senior graduation. And so we were on the way to Harry Potter World, and I get a call from Linda, who was my head coach at NC State at the time. And she's like, this company, Bring It Promotions, they do tours every winter, and you go and they take you to different countries and you play volleyball and you try to get picked up by a pro team. Never been out of the country before, didn't have a passport. She was like, they leave in 2 weeks. And so I was like, I'm in. So used all my graduation money, drove to Atlanta, like got my passport expedited, packed up, and just like went and flew to Slovenia all by myself, did the tour, which for me was just more of like I've never been outside the United States before. And so we went, and it was amazing. It was so fun. Didn't get picked up by a team, came back, and then in May, I want to say, I signed a contract in First League Greece, and then just kind of went from there.
So you kind of said, like, you know what? YOLO.
Yeah. Going for it. Going for it. So, and I literally, it was kind of the same as like, hey guys, I'm going to NC State. It's in the back of the car. And I was like, hey guys, I'm going to go to Europe in a couple of weeks. My parents are like, what? You don't even have a passport. I'm like, we'll figure it out. It's good.
So like, if we like just pause your journey at this point, right? And we, look back at, I guess, the kindergartner who rode the Olympic rings and won a pediatrician from Camden, South Carolina. What would you tell her about the journey ahead?
I think I would just tell her to just like hang on and enjoy, like just enjoy. I think that when I look back now and think of everywhere that I've been and everything I've gotten to do, where I am now, I'm like, I wish that I would have like let go a little bit more, especially in those college years, and just really tried to like enjoy where I was at a little bit more, because I think I kind of like lost myself along the way, right? Like I came in like just so excited being this small town girl and just happy to be there. And I think like there was like a span of, like a few years where I kind of like lost that feeling. And then it came back, and now I just look back and I'm like, wow, like this is incredible. I'd never in my whole life, because like whenever I drew those rings, it was like, I didn't know what that meant. I just know that the Olympics are the greatest sports event that you can compete in, and so yeah, like just like hang on, enjoy every moment, because it's going to work out. Like it will work out one way or the other, the way that it's supposed to work out.
Love it. And in a way, you're kind of living that dream out a little bit, the Olympic dream. I'm pretty sure you're playing against some Olympians overseas.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And I played in the World University Games in 2017, which is essentially like the Olympics. So I still think like I hold on to that of like, that was my Olympics. And it really was. And to this day, that was the most incredible experience I probably will ever experience. And so I still hold on to that. Like I got that. I got my Olympics. And yeah, like I think now, every stage, my big goal has kind of changed. And I think my big goal that I made for myself coming into pro was after my first year, and then I had an injury and then I came back, but was like, I want to play in the German Bundesliga. Like that was my like goal, my biggest like big goal, and knew it was going to take a few years to get there. And I think, I made that. I did that this year, and I got to play against like USA Olympian gold medalist, other countries Olympians. Like there's girls, every team in the Bundesliga, there's girls that play for their national teams. On my team, there's girls that play for their national team. So it's just like really, it's something that seemed so far off for me. And I kind of like put these girls on like a pedestal. And then this was the first year that I'm like, okay, like I'm not far off. Like I'm competing with these girls. I'm taking sets off of these teams, and like I'm a part of that. And whereas before it was kind of like coming into my team this year, it's like Swedish national team. We had a girl on the Canadian national team who played in VNL. And so I was just very intimidated. But then when we got into practice, I was like, I can do this. Like, like you just put these people on a pedestal, and they are like, they're amazing athletes, but then you also are an amazing athlete. So it's just kind of cool to be able to like be proud of myself for like this accomplishment.
Definitely. And I bet there's some rookie coming in too that's like, wow, Maggie. You're on a pedestal, right? So it's almost like a domino effect in a way.
Maybe.
You gotta own it, be like, yeah, they got me on a pedestal. Yeah, I earned it.
Yeah, pressure, but yeah, it's like being from a small town, it's definitely like I get that in my own way of, people are really proud of me here. And I do a lot of like coaching and stuff with like the high school and middle school girls. And so, they think I'm amazing. So
hey, you're top notch, game changer.
Thank you.
So kind of come from that small town environment, right? And you can being overseas for your first time ever. What was like, just like one like, oh fuck moment that you had? It's like, oh, like I just did something that was the thing to do or not to do.
So it doesn't necessarily relate to being from a small town, but definitely like culturally like a mess up. So it's just kind of like funny. So my first year I was in Greece, and my coach and basically all my teammates spoke no English whatsoever. And so my coach would always we would always start in rotation 5. And so before the game would start, I'd always be like 5, like row 5, like this. And he would always like look at me weird, but I was just like, he's crazy, whatever. And then finally one game when I was doing it, I was like 5, row 5. He like comes up to me, grabs my hand, and he's like 5. And I was like, okay, like what's going on? And we had one girl on our team that spoke English. And I was like, hey, like Lena, why did Manos just do that to me? Like, why is he so mad? And she was like, because this is in Greek is the equivalent of like flipping someone off. And so like for half a season, I'd just been like coming to this man's face, and I was like, oh my God. And I went up afterwards, and I was like, please tell him I'm so sorry. Like, that's not what I meant. And he was just kind of like, you should like, you should know that by now, like, blah, blah, blah. So like for half the season, I'm just like flipping my coach off before every game and just had no idea. So that was kind of like okay, I need to like learn a little bit more about the culture that I'm going into moment. But yeah,
So
still a funny story.
that's good to know. Like in Greece, open hand 5 is
Yeah.
okay.
Like F you. So
At least you still play though, right?
yeah. Still played.
There we go.
Never did it again. So, but yeah, I'm just like, dang, really starting off every game with this man on the right note. Like,
Put me in, coach. Put me in. So kind of head up to the end of this a little bit. So you just finished, your 5th season, am I correct?
4th season. Yeah. So I played in Greece, and then I had a whole year off, and then France for 2 years. Yeah. Germany for 1.
Okay.
So I'm going into my 5th season. Yeah.
Going to your 5th season. So what's your mindset now going to year 5?
Honestly, totally different than it's ever been before. So, this past year was a huge growing year for me as a player. Didn't think that I had, so much more room left to grow, but I do, and I did. And just kind of like proving myself in the league was like a big theme of this past season for me. And I think now I'm going back to the same team. So I think I've really like established my position as a player and like a leader. And so I think just to be more of like a role model for my younger teammates, because this will be the first season ever for me that I'm one of the oldest people on the team. And so I think just like trying to like be a role model and set a standard for the younger girls that are coming in, which I've never really seen myself as having that kind of role. And I think like we have really high ambition coming into this next season of like really wanting to like make a name for ourselves in this league. And I think that I actually see myself as like a big player in that, which is just, it's really cool to be able to say that. And so yeah, I think just kind of going in head first and taking this time at home to rest and enjoy relaxing, and then as soon as I get to Germany, it's game on. So
cool. So any big summer plans then?
I'm playing in adult nationals at the end of this month, so I'm excited about that. I played like 3 years ago and had a blast, and so I'm really excited to do that. Other than that, just my family goes to the beach for a week every summer, so I'm looking forward to that. And then just honestly just trying to see as many friends as I possibly can before I go for 9 months. So
ooh,
yeah,
9 months. I like that. 9, boom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that works out. Yeah.
So on our forum, we have the question, right, about, if you had a name for your journey, what would you call it? And the pressure right now.
Oh, I'm just so not creative. I don't know. I think just like, I liked what you said earlier about like, it's not about the end game. It's about the journey. It's about how you get there. Or what did you say? Sorry, I'm ruining this.
No, I think I said it's not the destination stays the same, but like the
Yes,
there may change.
yes. Like I think, like, oh my God, I'm really ruining this.
No. Let's see. From hearing your story right now, I would say it's almost about taking the chance.
Yeah.
Not overthinking the opportunity that's like around you. Like you said, I'm going to NC State. I'm going overseas. You didn't really know the mistake, but you're like, you know what? I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, I like that. Just like take like the chance. Taking the chance is worth it. Like it's definitely. You think that's it?
Taking the chance is worth it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think, and that's what I tell other people too that ask me if they should do something. I'm like, yes, do it. Go for it. Why not?
Yeah, because at least whether it happens or not, you'll grow from it.
Right, exactly. Like you're going to learn some sort of lesson, whether it's really bad or good. Like, why not go for it? Like, follow your gut.
Your gut. Or we can do follow your gut too. That can be, no.
I like yours better.
Yeah. Awesome. And then one more question for you right now. Social media wise, where are you at? People can kind of follow your journey more.
Oh, just my Instagram is just Maggie.Speaks. And then I actually am a part of Kathleen's agency, Athletes Abroad. So if people want to find more professional volleyball players that they can follow, I think it's just at athletesabroad.se, and tons of amazing female athletes there that people can follow their journeys as well.
That was good. That was a good little plug right there. That was a good segue.
Yes. Good.
That was solid.
Got to wrap.
Maggie, like, it's been great talking with you. Like, I really enjoyed our conversation and just how you've progressed the journey and such. So props to you.
Thank you for having me. I think this is an awesome platform, especially now that I know more about it. Like, that's awesome. Keep it up.
Definitely. And hopefully next year we'll get some highlights from you out in
yeah.
Like, yo, we talked to Maggie last year. Look what she's doing now. She won the cup. She's the MVP.
Yeah, keep it. Yeah, those are the goals. Let's keep those in mind.
Awesome.
Put it out in the universe.
We're gonna manifest.
Yeah, manifesting those.
Awesome. Well, enjoy South Carolina. Enjoy the summer, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. So good to meet you.
Me too. Bye.
Bye.
Yo, thanks for listening to this episode of the 9 Point Started With a Dream podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please comment, share, leave a review. We would love to hear your thoughts. You can find more athlete-driven content at 9point.com. Till the next episode, you're only one opportunity away. Peace.